I can't believe this is the third Friday that I'm doing this. So I'm so excited. When I first started thinking about this podcast or doing some kind of live show, I wasn't really sure how to go about it or how to pick the topics or the subjects, but I just thought that if we just share the conversations that we're having anyway behind closed doors, that I'm having with my friends, other people must be having this too. So we just kind of flung open the doors, and we'll see. We've had a few listeners. Hopefully we get more. But if you're listening to this for the first time, there's a chat box down below your screen on YouTube Live, and you can ask any questions. You can comment down there, because we would like to hear from you. And we don't really know where the conversation's going to go, but the topic that I picked for tonight was all things that go bump in the night. And paranormal, shadow people, all these weird oddities that we experience. And I thought, who better to talk to than Tammie Fyfe. And Tammie and I have really got to know each other, and I'll have her introduce herself here in a little bit. But there's very few people that I think take any paranormal work as seriously as Tammie. That's kind of rare. A lot of people that are interested in the paranormal or even investigating is sometimes, we really kind of get into the investigation part of it, but the part that I really resonate with Tammie with is that, helping the people that are involved, so that, it's not just about the proof that we can get or what can you capture on a recorder or on video, but it's much more than that, because very often there are, people living in that home that have to have some skills and some tools to know and to understand what's going on. So anyway, Dimensional Twist number 3, and we're live with Tammie Fyfe. Hi, Tammie.
Hey, Nicole.
I told you I'm going to send you some questions ahead of time, and I didn't.
It's okay. We'll just bounce.
I take the blame for that, but I always kind of like try to listen to my intuition, and I just thought, well, there's probably no reason for that. And so I sat down a little bit ago, and I really started to kind of contemplate where this direction might go, because I just get like a bee in my bonnet and I run with it, and then I try to figure out how to do it, later on. But I think that we have, in ways we have similar views, and then in other areas, I'm sure we probably think about things, very differently. But why don't you just tell us a little bit who you are, where you come from? You're in beautiful Florida right now. I'm so jealous.
Yeah, I am. It's probably about 76 outside, I think, 75. Looked like I saw y'all were going to be getting some cold weather.
Yes, it's supposed to snow tomorrow.
Well, take a picture and send it to me, and I'll take a picture of the white stuff I have, that sand, and we'll just roll with it. Like you said, I'm in Florida, live in Jacksonville, Florida. I was born here, raised here, went to school here as well, went to college a little piece down the road in Gainesville, Florida. I have a daughter. I have 2 grandkids. Been paranormal investigating probably like 25 years.
That's a long time.
It is a long time. Yeah. I guess, my first paranormal experience was like around the age of 12, 13. Back then, that was in the like mid 70s. Wasn't a whole lot on that. Back then, I couldn't just go to the library and check out a book. I couldn't go on Facebook. I couldn't listen to you.
Heck, there wasn't even internet back then.
Yeah, we didn't even have dial-up No, there was no dial-up even. We're talking. This is in the in the 70s.
You're giving away your age now.
I don't mind. I look good.
You do.
But after that, I was really curious. I spent time at a local cemetery that I could ride my bicycle to. Um, I don't know if I want to use the word drawn to it because I was very young, but I guess that would be the best word. Instead of the playground or things like that, I liked going to the cemetery. Walk around on the grass, take my shoes off, just feel the grass underneath my feet, and it was always very, very peaceful. I mean, it is a
Yeah.
peaceful place, and it's a pretty place, and there's things to look at. Um, that was just always very comfortable. And just as
So,
I got older, things, changed. I started actually investigating and
mm.
being able to help people.
So when you say you had your first experience, at 12, was that the first one that you like actually remembered? Do you care maybe sharing a little bit what that was?
Oh yeah, I don't mind at all. It was my grandmother had passed away, my dad's mom, and she resided here in Jacksonville as well. And I had gone to school that day, and I started not feeling well. My stomach just really hurt, almost to the point that I felt like I was going to be sick. Um, and I thought about getting them to call my mom, but I didn't. I just kind of wrote it out for the day. My mom came and picked me up at school. She was very quiet on the drive home. We got home, and my dad was sitting there. My aunt and uncle had come from Georgia, and they told me they had something they needed to tell me, that my grandmother had passed away that day. Um, but when I was sitting at my desk and my stomach was really, really hurting, it was like her voice, literally like her voice. And she told me that she had passed away, but that she loved me very much and that she would look out for me. Um, Following that was like a warm hug or a blanket like being wrapped around me. Um, I, of course, didn't say anything. When I got home, it was not a surprise to me. I guess I didn't have that shocked look on my face. My parents asked me if I was okay, and I told them that I knew that she had passed away because she had came to me at school that day. And
Wow.
it was very, very, real for me. Um, and if I sit there and think about it, and I'm like in a really, really, I guess I put myself in that place. I can still feel like that warmness, of her, back behind me. Just kind of like giving me that hug.
Yeah.
Um, So even to this day, it's a comforting feeling. It's a great feeling.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of people that have paranormal normal experiences, especially first time, is not situations like that, to be experiencing a family member like that and have your first kind of maybe real encounter with it that you can recall. I think that's a very beautiful way to experience that. But it's interesting that you say that you didn't really think much of it. And as kids, we don't second guess a lot of these things that we might see and hear. It's just we experience things, or like when kids are afraid of the dark, or they see something outside the window. Those things are very real to them, and very often
Sure.
parents don't know how to respond to that. We're told it's your imagination, or that it's not real.
But yeah, as you and I well know, because we work together, particularly on such a thing, that I mean, now the parent never said that these things are not real. It was very real for everyone. Um, but in my opinion, I always think that children suffer um, the most. But everything out there, I also want to do on the flip side of the coin, that everything that happens of things that go bump in the night don't necessarily have to be paranormal either.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
I
that's so
believe a lot of
true.
things are maybe platform based. What do you have going on in your home? Um, it can just cause, a lot of things. It causes, it can cause fighting and angry and tensions that may only be going on with two people, but it'll eventually affect the whole household, building that negative platform. Um, so a lot of times our work just isn't just as an investigator. It might be as a counselor, type of role, to try and help people, because, everything that happens, maybe isn't paranormal, but that doesn't mean that you still don't want to help those people, because you
Yeah.
do.
That's interesting, because when I first started out in what I do now, started off with having paranormal experiences in my house here and getting a group out to investigate, and then eventually just kind of joined them and, became part of the crew, so to speak. But, my experiences that I had came probably the first one I can really recall is the age of 5, which was more an out-of-body experience that I've shared, in other videos and stuff. But I would always kind of catch things out of the corner of my eye, like, somebody walking by, or just, seeing things that other people couldn't see. And nobody ever had really a good answer to what that was. I think what prompts a lot of my motivation for especially doing the program tonight with you, is I want people to realize that it's not always what we think it is. And so you mentioned that, having this platform. When I first started going into homes and investigating, a lot of times we just look for like the symptoms of something. Can you catch something on camera, like something moving by, or can you catch a voice on an audio recorder, or can you have some kind of physical experience? And those things don't tell the story. They don't tell the story of what's happening and what caused those things to be there in the first place. And I realized that there were, this pattern that started unfolding, where the people that live in the house or that lived there before is probably the most important influence as to what's happening. So you call that platform. When we have emotions in our home, we're constantly depositing emotions and feelings and experiences into our environment, and we don't ever go and clean them up.
Well, that's what I'm talking about with the platform. I mean, it continues, it just builds higher and higher and higher. And at some point, it's a platform. It's not built to sustain anything or to be built on as like a relationship, a family, whatever that's meant to be built on. The platform's not meant to be built on, and it will crumble. And when it does, I have really seen that it's maybe just 2 people out of the house. If there's 4 or 5 people, it seems that every person is affected in some sort of way.
So if you, like, somebody approaches you and they say, I have something going on in my home and I'm not really sure what it is, where do you start? What do you do? How do you approach a situation like that?
Generally I'll talk to a client. If it's someone that maybe had recommended me, or knows, maybe what I kind of do on the side there, that, I really want to talk to them. You can a lot of times get a lot of answers from people, as well as maybe I have questionnaires that, sometimes, I will send out. That just gives me little ideas, of things, so that I'm not walking into it blindly. But a lot of times I do that as well. We might get a notification on a website or an email, and just go ahead and set the appointment to go and talk to that family. Of course, we want to know things that are going on, but when we actually sit down with them is when we start asking, a lot of those deep questions, because you have to build that client, investigator relationship. People don't just generally maybe spill all of this stuff out. Now, not to say that there aren't those that do. Maybe they enjoy it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've seen both sides of the coin. But yeah, you have to be able to build that trust, because these people are going to be telling you a lot of things. The most popular phrase I think that I've ever heard is, "You're not going to believe me when I tell you this, but," and I go, "Yeah, well, yeah, I will."
Yeah, it's
Well,
like, you're sitting
and,
there.
let me decide that. And I'm like, "Oh, that's it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We I can help you out with that."
It's the same as when people say this is going to sound weird, and
Right. This is going to sound crazy, but, and I'm like, yeah, try me. In like 20 years, 20 plus years, nah, it's not going to surprise me, really. Some things are family problems. Some things are more than that. But I use everything, whether it be, the knowledge that I have, maybe about, these platforms and things. And then you have investigation equipment. You have tools that you use. Some people like to debate them, certain things. What are they there for? They are useless. I think it's all a matter of opinion. Then you always have your own senses as well, that you need to use and to go with. So I don't just go one particular way. I have like 3 to 4 different alleys, that I go down. So I don't categorize myself as a scientific expert. Do I use it? Yes, I do. Do I use my senses and my brain as well? And the things that I've learned? Yes. Do I sometimes play a counselor role? Yes, I do. So it's a big hat. You know about that.
No, yeah, absolutely. And that's why I felt that we resonated so easily with that, because I think we both kind of take the middle road. And typically, if you look at, at the field of paranormal investigators, or that realm of, what's the word? Like that, that field, there seems to be 2 camps. It's either you're the very scientific and it's all about the equipment and all about the physical evidence, and then it seems like you have the other side of it, which is where the intuitives and the mediums and those people fall in. And I think that there has to be a balance between the middle, because we're not going to really get to the bottom of it if we don't use the physical evidence that we have there, which are the experiences that people are having, but then tying it to what the story around that is.
Sure.
And I've been in, even in some of the groups that I've been in before, talking about anything intuitive is, it's kind of like a no-no.
And I know plenty of groups that, if that is your thing that you're bringing to the table, I guess I'll call it. I would, if that's your thing. A lot of groups, they don't want that, because they just want it to be about equipment, tools. Who's got the biggest, baddest stuff? I mean, sometimes it does get into a little contest, I guess I'll call it.
Yeah.
Between who's got the biggest toys.
Yeah. So, that's something that I didn't necessarily think of before when I try to get somebody in to come look at my house is maybe, interviewing them, or to see what their approach is. Because I think you just kind of look for the closest person around you. But tell me a little bit about like St. Augustine. You're right there, and I guess you did tours or something there. I remember.
Yeah, you saw that face light up, didn't you? Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, nation's oldest city. I love St. Augustine. It's about 45 minutes from where I live here in Jacksonville. And yes, I did have a tour company down there. I owned it myself, ran it myself, did it myself. Occasionally I would bring in help. I would do paranormal tours during the evening, ghost tours. During the daytime, I would do historical tours, like maybe at the Fort de Castillo, maybe at the lighthouse, just really whatever, my client that day, was asking for, where they wanted to go. Loved it. Met people from, all over, in this paranormal field. You meet a lot of people.
So what kind of things, did you experience there? I've only seen like television shows and stuff from, St. Augustine, especially the lighthouse and that, but.
Right. The lighthouse, I mean, I love the lighthouse. A lot of people did tune in, and a lot of people watched that episode of Ghost Hunters. When they were at the lighthouse. Yep, I was there. Loved that. We weren't even in there like 5 minutes filming. Just kind of walked in the door. Everybody was greeting everybody. Had one camera set up, and that was it, pointing straight up. The rest of the cameras had not even been set up yet. I had a lot of experiences at the lighthouse. My daughter's had experiences at the lighthouse. I've, had friends that have had experiences, clients. I love the lighthouse.
Yeah, it's because I remember when they were showing the footage of that, where you could see like the shadow move over, or like lean over this spiral.
Yeah, he's just like looking down.
Further up, you could see it again.
Yeah, we were reviewing the evidence, and I mean, not even 5-6 minutes into reviewing the evidence, there that shadow popped up. Loved it. That was one of the best ones I've actually seen. Another one that I've seen here was in Jacksonville at the Florida Theater. Florida Theater is one of an older building here in Jacksonville. My dad actually used to work there, who's passed away now. He worked there when he was 14 as an usher boy, and I had the chance to investigate the Florida Theater. I've actually investigated a couple times since then. But one time in particular, we were investigating there, and I was up on the stage, and they caught on camera a shadow man sitting out in the audience. It was pretty cool. Looked
Wow.
good. Yeah, you could see it with your eyes and everything.
Yeah. So what do you think? Part of the title that I gave this was Shadow People. Do you have a theory on what that is when people see these shadows move by, or shadow figures?
Well, I mean, I guess I'd have to say first off, I mean, it's energy, you know. Do I think that energy can manifest in that way? Yes, I do. Do I think it can manifest smells? Yes, because these are things that I've experienced. I don't know if I hadn't experienced it, would I be such a believer in it? Because you hear people talk about it, and if they haven't experienced it, it's hard to believe that. Oh, you smell roses? I don't smell anything. But a lot of these times when these things happen, it will be in a group of people. It might only last a second or two, but you still have that experience. Like in the lighthouse, sometimes you'll get cigar smoke smell or pipe smell as you're starting to get towards the top. The light keepers would smoke pipes. It was very popular back then. So to get something like that, personally, I think is like a gift. That's what I think it is, and I always say thank you. I
Because a lot of
mean,
people are afraid of seeing shadow people. I remember when I first started seeing it in this house that we're living in. It really freaked me out, because even though as a kid I would see stuff out of the corner of my eye, this was like seeing like a much more complete shadow. And the very first time I actually had something that I thought in any other situation, probably would have scared the, but what, out of me, was when I was at Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky. And we were standing on the first floor, came right out of the stairwell. The main lobby was straight ahead of us, and the cafeteria and the morgue area were to our right. And I had this full shadow figure person walk right by me on my left side, and I actually thought it was one of the investigators that was standing next to me that had walked behind me, and down the hallway. And I asked if the person if that was them walking, and they're answering me from right where they're still standing. And only then did I realize this was like, something like disembodied or something like that I saw. But
I love Waverly Hills.
I would
Love
love to
Waverly
go
Hills.
back. Honestly, I was really scared when I went the first time, because I didn't really realize of any of my intuitive gifts that I have to the extent that it was. I just had this overwhelming emotional experience. But some really, really cool stuff happened. But I have a theory that, because you said not everything that you see is paranormal, and I think that not every paranormal event, and so here I'm maybe talking more visually or sometimes auditory, is necessarily like a disembodied spirit or some from somebody that had died. I see it more as maybe an aspect of time, where there's maybe a time slip, or we're seeing a shadow of something that happened in another time. So I think that it's maybe more dimensionally, but that's just my theory that I have. And
I mean, I can't explain these things that happen. I can't. I can't explain feeling a burn feeling and looking down at your leg and being scratched. I've had it happen to me in St. Augustine at an antique store that I was helping some friends out at, that were having some bumps in the night and bumps in the day and the afternoon, and a lot. And I came out of there scratched, more than once.
So
do I think that that's intentional? Do I think that they're trying to hurt me? I don't. That's just me.
So what do you say to somebody that says, they're having like something either physically, or they have the perception something's trying to physically harm them, or that they're afraid of it?
And I've had, several cases such as that, being choked in bed while they're sleeping, being held down while they're sleeping, wanting to get up, and you're just froze to the bed. You can't move. How do you explain that? How do you tell someone it's okay? Or I'm going to make it go away? I don't know that I can make something go away.
So
Everybody, you
what
have
you
to
just,
treat everybody on it like an individual,
Mhm.
Basis.
Yeah, but that's why you say it's important to know what their backstory is, because I typically find in cases with sleep paralysis where you feel like you're being pinned down has more to do with astral projection. Because I used to have that really bad. Like I had really intense experiences, just waking up in the middle of the night and you can't breathe and you feel like something's standing over you. And um, through some of the other work that I do, some of the answers that we've received is, as a soul, you have this desire to grow or to, have other experiences. You say, I want to know more. And then when your helpers or your team shows up at night to help you when you're in your dream state, then you get afraid so it's sort of like fear manifesting. And it seems like when people start realizing that and work on that aspect, then that goes away. But I've personally experienced being scratched or being touched or something like that. And it's an interesting experience, but I wouldn't say I've ever been afraid of it. But sometimes it's hard to put people's mind at ease. Like, look, there's nothing that's going to harm you. There's nothing that's stronger than you are. You're in charge. It's you need to set your boundaries.
Well, but I have to, and it's just in my opinion,
Mm.
because this is just like a me and you thing. So this is just my opinion. My opinion is that, with people, about what you said about, it can't hurt you, you're going to be okay, comes into play, hype in media, movies, everything. So that, of course, everything that's out there, you know, is a D word
Mm-hmm.
that ends in an N.
You can
Not
say
my
it.
favorite. It's a demon word. It's a demon. It's a demon. That's not me. Have I done a lot of studying and background work so that I can do what I do and be able to be knowledgeable about it? Because there are a lot of people that maybe you're not the first group that they've sought out. You might be the second or the third group that's been in there. You don't know what they've been told. So based on what they might have been told in a previous investigation, or doing research on the internet, or watching some movie someplace, they think that they have all the information. They're going to tell me what's going on in their house. Okay. Um, my thing is I think that you have to just methodically. I do like investigating. Sure, I do. But I like helping people better. And again, sometimes it's not always something bad going, bumping the night. Sometimes there's a lot of good things. As far as like being able to maybe have visitations, maybe from loved ones that are possibly trying to just catch your attention. I think we get so busy in life that we miss so much. We do. We're focused on work, and when we come home, we got to do dinner, and then we got to do this, and it's like life has already kind of set a schedule for us, and we have to follow that. And sometimes you just don't take time, to smell the roses. And so maybe I think that sometimes that's how they'll get your attention. And maybe if it does come across as something a little bit like a scratch, some people might think that's a negative thing. Maybe the energy that's behind that doesn't realize how much energy that they truly have and what they're able or what they're capable of manifesting to be able to do.
That's a thought right there.
That's just my opinion. So there's where I guess I would go into the paranormal equipment part of it. K2 meters, this, that. I personally have had experiences with them where I was like, wow, I mean, I'm getting audible responses on a machine. Um, then again, I've been at places where maybe we're doing the same type of thing, but somebody has a cell phone on or someone has something else that triggers, the response. I can make a flashlight turn on and off all day long. I can
Yeah.
do that if I set it right. I can make the K2 meter go off and on if I set my cell phone close enough to it, but you don't see it.
Yeah.
But I can make it go off and make it do whatever I want.
Yeah, and I think that's with a lot of the setup that goes into if you were to go investigate a location that some people sometimes get irritated with some of the protocol that you have about no cell phones, turn them off or leave them in your car. Every little noise, every movement that you make can impact something. But I remember this one house that we went to just up the street from where I live, and we had an hour-long conversation down in the basement with whatever was there on a K2 with yes and no questions, lighting it up. So K2 meter has several lights on it going from green all the way to red. And there are many, many different ways to communicate. And I think that, I don't know, I think you can rely on it too much in a way too, but boy, sometimes they can surprise you in some interesting ways if you know how to use your tool. But
No,
I lost my train of
I no, I totally agree with that. Because sometimes you're sitting there and maybe yourself as an intuitive, you know, um, you probably know more than the rest of us do. You know more than the average bear. Might be able to have that little communication going on. And you're relying strictly on things that you've purchased or things that you made. Um, which I guess brings me back to as far as being able to communicate with turning on lights and things. And so if it's obviously what you're talking to is intelligent, they're going to know red, yellow, green. And I've had them take it to, can you take it to red for me? Can you take it to yellow? And when you make all those little lights light up that go up in the path and make it stop directly on yellow, that's pretty good. Whether it's a machine doing it, just by chance, and then when I ask it to go to red and it goes all the way to red, is that just by chance? I don't think so. Something's doing it. Some sort of energy matter is making that color go to red and making it go to green.
I always think you talk about some of these energies being intelligent, and we live in a pretty convoluted intelligent universe, and I always try to imagine the other side. If I was on the other side and you couldn't see me, what would I sometimes think of some of these questions that are being asked or these actions to be taken? Because I've heard some of the silliest things before, but
Oh, I have too. I guess that's why, for me, I mean, it's a little bit of comic relief whenever like I'm asking questions, because I mean, that's just me. I just wouldn't want, and especially places that, like say for instance, maybe like Waverly Hills. But Waverly Hills maybe not, because I mean, that was an institution, that's where, mental patients were and things. So maybe that's not the right place for comic relief. I'm just saying that might not be the right place. But in other places, I mean, I just like to be me and be very casual when it comes to maybe asking in an EVP session. I don't like doing the run-of-the-mill questions because I'm thinking if it's a popular place to come investigate, I'm going to get damn tired of, what's your name? How did you
exactly.
die? How did you die? Do you know that you're dead?
Yeah.
What's your
I mean, a lot of
name?
assumptions are maybe made there, right? Do you think that impacts location, things that have become really touristy? I think of like up here we have the Villisca Axe Murder House, and which I've been to, and Ashmore Estates. They have a haunted house in that building.
Right.
And then Waverly Hills, which I mean they're booked a year ahead. But I wonder how much of the like current activity deposits more information on top of those platforms. How do you really know what you're picking up at the end of the day? It's just, some of the thoughts that go through my mind.
I would think maybe a lot of the older places, that if it's older, and, a lot of people filter through there. There's a lot of traffic in there. I mean, I think that a lot of that activity would probably be what, I would refer to as like residual. It continues to go. It continues to play. Just like a looping tape. It just continues and continues and continues. I don't really think that maybe a lot really changes. And you never know where things are going back to. Is it going back to a land attachment? Is it something that has to do with the land? Previously, someone who lived there, it's said that down here, in Florida, a lot of things have to do Native Americans, because there were a lot of Native Americans here, and that the residual hauntings, or residual activity will be, goes all the way back that far. So you think if you can fathom that it goes back that far, and look where we are now, how much has happened in between there. So yeah, do you really know what you're getting? Are you getting, the Indian chief dude from a long time ago? Or, are you getting maybe a 1920s person or a 1940s? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think that there's a bunch going on.
Yeah, I think the common factor with a lot of these situations are there's intense emotion involved. And especially if you look at, somebody wanting to like clear up things in their own house that they maybe have right now, that would probably the first place that I would look at is what's the emotional mood of the house? And, have there been things where there's a big deposit of emotional energy left there? And that's typically what happens at hospitals or cemeteries, which too, I find cemeteries very, very peaceful because, the person's not there. But I think what people sometimes can associate or feel with that is maybe the grief that was deposited there or experienced in that place.
Sure. I totally agree. I mean, we go to cemeteries and investigate. And I mean, I don't know. I don't particularly think that you have to pay lots of money, your hard-earned money, to sit there and go and investigate, at a mental hospital that's starring so-and-so and so-and-so. I mean, did I do it? Yeah, I did a long time ago. Would I do it anymore? No, because that's not to me what it's all about. Now it's gone deeper into, wanting to serve my, fellow man by being able to help you out with something, if that's possible. Whether it might not be myself, I may have to reach out, to someone else, but still be able to, help you. But I love going, to old places, and it doesn't have to be the nation's oldest city. It can be right there, where you live, yourselves, everybody in their own homes. You're not the first house. And even if you are the first house, you're not the first person to ever walk on that property. So there's been someone before you. There always is, generally someone that was there before you. So someone and people have left their imprints, long before you got there.
Yeah. I always think that, if you were to maybe feel scared in your own home, maybe it's not even your own feeling that you're feeling. Maybe you're feeling that, of somebody else that was there before. And wouldn't you want to either comfort that person, or wouldn't you want to make that feel better instead of trying to like chase things away or yell or scream at it? And I have to say I do blame a lot of the media and entertainment with that, because they do sensationalize the fear factor. I mean, look at all the paranormal, movies and stuff that are out there. And it's not. I always have to tell people it's not what you see on television. It's not the same.
No, I think that it's kind of weird that whenever, like, let's say a new paranormal movie comes out, it seems that the client calls get more frequent, website hits get more, emails get more frequent, texting, things like that. I mean, it always happens. And I found through the years, it was kind of funny, especially when paranormal activity movies just started coming out. Everybody else was cheering, and I think a lot of the paranormal community was going, no, no, not another one.
That's
No.
true.
We just want a weekend off. We just want to go fishing.
Or when it's Halloween time,
But no,
October.
everybody's got a demon this weekend, and we have to go investigate. So, yeah, we don't run to the theater. We run and go hide because the phone calls are going to come. Um, but I don't agree with all of that. I think it sensationalizes um, things that might just be very harmless that get sensationalized into something, that is bad and is evil, and you need to open your doors and open your windows and chase it out and cast it out. And yeah, I don't work like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
What's your strangest experience you've had?
Ooh, strangest experience. Okay, strangest experience. I've heard a lot of disembodied voices. I've heard talking. That's cool because that's okay. I'm used to that one. But one night I was in St. Augustine, and my friend Charlie and I was leaving. We were actually at the Spanish Military Hospital, which is the old hospital that took care of the military soldiers in the Spanish War. And we had done a paranormal tour there that evening. And we were leaving, and it was about 2:30 in the morning. So the bars are closed down. Everybody pretty much is home. And Charlie and I are walking down Abilene Street, which is the oldest named street in the United States. We're walking down, and we hear clip clop of horses, both of us. We looked at each other, and I'm like, did you? We both looked at each other just in awe. We turned around and looked, and they have the horse and carriages down there. Now, they're all, they're put away by like 11 o'clock at night, so I thought it was really strange, but I'm going to look anyway. No horse, no carriage. So we went all the way up to the main road and looked. Nothing. And it was as clear as day, and both of us heard it. We didn't even have to say anything. It was just like that we both heard it and was looking for the horse. That was like, to hear like an animal noise to me, that was like the only one that I recall that I've ever heard was the clip clopping of the horses. Yeah, I've been touched. I've heard my name called. I've heard great EVPs that come out that maybe I've done or I was sitting in the room when they were done. I've had a lot of really cool experiences that other people might, I don't know, they might run and hide. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was at a friend of mine's jail. She owns a jail in Gilchrist County, which is right out.
Stop. Who owns a jail?
Well, my friend Arlene owns a jail. It's a shut down jail. It ran up until the early 80s. And so she bought it, and she lets groups come and investigate there, and then does things for the public as well. I was investigating there one night with a group of other investigators, and my butt kept getting grabbed. I was sitting on a cell bench, and I'm like, what? Quit grabbing my butt. And you could clearly see on the camera that's going, you can see my butt cheek just lift up. As we're walking, my butt gets grabbed again. Is that weird? Yeah, that's a strange experience. But it's appropriate. I'm a female in a guy jail back in the 70s. That were people in the 70s. I thought it was appropriate to grab my butt.
Yeah, I've had that happen too. It's like, being like touched on the butt a couple times, and that happened in our house for a while. Whenever we would have somebody come over and visit, oh gosh, this is probably the first 5 years we lived here. Almost every single time somebody would be touched. But
I was going to say my butt never got grabbed at your house, but.
But it's an interesting feeling. I was kind of afraid when I first thought, went on an investigation, and it's like, oh my gosh, something might touch me. Kind of freaked me out. But when it actually happened, it feels like spider web sometimes. It's very, very gentle. And I think that we're probably feeling the energy in most of those cases that you're experiencing the energy of it.
I don't know that it's ever really, an actual top on top kind of touch. I think it's, from a distance. And, again, that's why I think some can be very light and others are more heavy. That comes across as, oh, I was pushed down.
No, I've
Okay, in
had
your
that
mind,
happen before.
so have I. And it's
What's
not very much fun.
no.
No.
We were at an old farmhouse and we took a break and I was sitting on the stairs right to the front door and I just had this like shove on my back and I just, tilted forward a little bit. It wasn't like standing or anything. And we got an EVP at the same time too. It's like, okay, that was interesting.
I mean, I always say thank you. I mean, again, like I said, maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't know. But, I'm going to go ahead and say thanks for grabbing my butt. Thank you. You made my night. For some reason, they seem to like to mess with the tops of the spikes of my hair as well. That seems to be like a really popular spot. And it's not on the side or on the back. It's right there, just right on the top. And they don't move or anything because I've had it happen, and cameras are pointed on me. You can't see any of my hair move, but I can feel it. And then there's been other times that you can actually see the hair being touched or being moved. And again, I don't think it's anyone necessarily putting their fingers through my hair. I think it's that energy that's making it move.
Yeah. The strangest experience I had was also pretty close to where I live. St. Joe is a really active place. But this guy called us because he thought that he had, his experience was that he would feel something like get on the bed at night. And for months, we went back to this place 4 or 5 different times, and we actually got on our recorder. I need to find the footage of that somewhere where I was laying there, trying to see what would happen as we're investigating, and you could feel it, and you could see the depression on the, on the blankets happen. But I think especially some people that are maybe more open, either intuitively or some people just are like a magnet for paranormal experiences. No matter where they live or where they go, they're always going to have, those experiences. And especially if you get two people together that are like that, you tend to find more like EVPs and things like that on investigations. It really does matter how people pair up. But that was probably the weirdest experience that I had, like actually physically feeling that. And then when I came home, and I got in bed feeling something jump on the bed. I'm like, okay, that's it. No more.
Done.
But I think what I want people to know about that is because sometimes they get afraid of they might go somewhere and something's going to follow them home.
Yeah, and they bring some company home with them.
Yeah, and I don't see it like that. I just see it like I didn't take the time to tune out of that radio station or out of that channel. I didn't break that connection, that energy connection. And so in a way, I kind of kept that open. But I don't think people ever have to be afraid of something following them or being attached to them. You're always protected. You're always safe.
Yeah, I mean, up to date, have I ever had anything like of a bad, experience as far as something following me home, anything like that? Not that I know of. I mean, I guess it could have, but not that I know of. And
Nothing
I'm
that
thinking I
bothered
would
you.
know. I'm thinking I would know. Yeah, they'd be messing with my hair and stuff, not letting me have a good hair day.
So we're pretty much running out of time here. If you have any advice for anybody that might be listening to our conversation later on, or any tips that you could give them, what do you want the world to know?
Can you open your clothes?
You there? Oh, I think I might have lost Tammie.
Okay.
She'll be back with us in just a minute.
Don't let Eddie in there.
So that's tonight's show. I think we lost Tammie there at the last minute, but it's really important to me that people know that when they have any kind of paranormal activity happen in their house or something that's unexplained, that they need to find the right type of person to help them either figure out if it's something that's physical related to the home, or if it's something that's related to maybe their personal life. And that you have the ability to change the situation. Very often, if you just go in and sage the house or do some kind of clearing work, you know, put love in the house or put light into your space. When you make it your own, when you claim your space, that usually will lift a lot of that energy. And I always say, like, when I go into a house to you know, kind of see what's going on, or to do any kind of like saging, it's like clearing your kitchen counters. You might wipe them off, you know, every day, but every once in a while you need to move everything away and really kind of get into the corners. Or, you know, sometimes these energies kind of deposit into the areas that we move in the least, where we're not really living in that space, typically attics and basements. And that's why those things are kind of creepy to people, because there's not a lot of life force in that area. So if you enjoyed the show, then go ahead and give us a like or share, or come back and listen next week. We'll be talking to Kelly Diane, and she's a medium. So we'll be talking about all kinds of intuitive information, and hopefully if you have some questions, we might be able to even take a live reading or something like that. But I think that's it for the night. So enjoy you to come back, or invite you to come back and join us again later. Good night.